I ain't never seen two pretty best friends.
The beat, some to the beat, M to the
So this is the third time I'm filming this video, so I'm hoping that this one actually makes the cut, unlike the other ones. As you can tell from the intro from this video, and probably from the title, depending on when I made the title, that this is a video about not using my phone for 2 weeks. I was initially just going to do an Instagram post, but I had a lot of things that I wanted to say about the topic, so I decided to just make a video and make my 12-year-old self's YouTube dreams become reality. Before I dive into my experience of what it was like to not have a phone for 2 weeks, I thought I'd cover a bit of the why. Like many other Gen Z or millennials, I have a cell phone addiction. My screen time was 8 or 9 hours a day. Granted, I was in lockdown, it's not like I had anything else to do, but even if I was working, my screen time was probably still about 6 hours a day, which is just a little bit unfathomable in my opinion. So my screen time was just absolutely ridiculous. I was spending all my time on Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, just refreshing the same 3 apps over and over again and literally not doing anything else with my life. I was just super unproductive, wasn't doing the things I love, wasn't keeping up with my hobbies or anything like that. And I just reached a breaking point where I was like, okay, this is fucking ridiculous. You need to solve this. And so my solution was ditching my phone for 2 weeks. Now, let's get into what it was actually like not having a phone for 2 weeks. So I'm gonna start with some of the things that I liked about not having a phone. The first thing that I liked about not having a phone is one of the main reasons why I decided to ditch my phone was that I wasn't productive and I wasn't doing anything. So without having a phone and the constant distraction of social media, I was actually able to do a bunch of things. I had a bunch of tasks and creative projects that I've been wanting to do, but I just never got around to doing them because I could always just go on my phone to stay entertained instead of actually doing something. So without having a phone for that constant distraction, constant entertainment, I managed to get around to doing all those things that I've been meaning to do. For example, I painted my wall, I made a collage on a different wall, I altered some clothing, I read a book, stuff like that. Similarly to being more productive, I was also more efficient in the tasks that I did without having, like I said, the constant distraction of a phone. I wasn't constantly checking social media, so once I started a task, I just did it and then I got it done, and it was really easy. I'm sure this would have been really prominent and obvious if I was a student and had assignments to complete. I would have gotten the assignments done a lot more efficiently, but I'm not a student, so I can't speak on that, but if any of you try this and you are a student, let me know how that goes. Though, of course, I was a lot more productive without my phone, I still spent my fair share of time on YouTube and going down the YouTube rabbit holes. And although that wasn't necessarily productive, it was still so much better than social media. And the reason why it was so much better is because I had a, conscious consumption of content. Okay, while trying to explain conscious content consumption in the video I took, it made absolutely no sense, so I'm gonna try and explain again here a bit better. So basically, even though I was just on YouTube and not being particularly productive, I liked it a lot more because I had control over what I was seeing on Instagram stories as well as on TikTok. You don't really get to decide what you see, it's just what other people post, or it's whatever the algorithm chooses, whereas on YouTube, like, you search up videos and you look for the content you want to watch. I didn't realize how much not having control over what I was consuming, I didn't realize how much that was negatively affecting my mental health. Mostly it was just through bad news, especially on Instagram stories, because that's how people share the news. So once I wasn't looking at Instagram stories, I wasn't getting all this random bad content and energy and stuff like that. So that's why I liked it and why I prefer YouTube, and I'll explain a little bit more why I like YouTube more. Especially on YouTube, I was watching a lot of content that really inspired me, motivated me, had me looking forward to the future, compared to seeing on Instagram stories like, oh, this forest is on fire, this person got murdered, there's a new famine happening, or something like that. None of that was on my radar. I didn't have all that negative energy and negative content being spilled into my brain. Instead, it was just content that got me excited and happy and all that fun jazz. Similarly to not being exposed to negative content, I felt like I was putting like less negative energy out into the world with Snapchat and being able to conveniently talk to so many people at once because I can just send a snap to all of my friends. I realized I complained a lot less without that, because if something bad or mildly inconvenient happened, I would just have to sit there and be like, well, that sucks, because I couldn't conveniently tell everybody. Overall, it was really good because it stopped me from dragging out a situation or thinking about something negative longer than I really needed to be. So though I absolutely loved not having a phone, there were of course a couple things that I didn't like that much about it. One obvious reason being I didn't have a phone. I did have to make phone calls and I didn't have a phone, so you can see how that would be inconvenient. Similarly to a phone just being a useful tool for making phone calls, the phone also has an alarm clock function. I don't have an alarm clock or a secondary clock in my room, so I didn't have an alarm or a clock to check in the morning. One of the things I was really hoping to change from not having a phone for 2 weeks was not looking at a screen right in the morning. However, when I woke up, I wanted to know what time it was without getting out of bed to see if I should keep sleeping or not. So I'd open my laptop instead, which is significantly worse than a phone because a laptop screen is like 6 times larger than a phone screen. One of the things I disliked the most about not having a phone was the lack of connection I had with friends. Without Snapchat, I really only talked to like 3 people. Along with not being able to talk to my actual close friends, I also didn't have any communication with literally anybody else. On social media, I feel like there's a lot of pseudo communication, just like little conversations you have in the comment section or swiping up on people's stories. You can communicate with people you're not necessarily close to, and I didn't have any of that. It was just the 3 friends I talked to. It was a lot less social interaction, even though it was just through a phone. There was still a lot less of it. That was my experience of not having a phone for 2 weeks. I've now had my phone back for 2 weeks, and I'm gonna do a bit of a reflection period. For starters, right off the bat, I hate social media now. I just don't like it. I've always been someone who loves social media, hence why I had an addiction to it, but once I stepped away from it for such a long amount of time, I realized it's like not that great. Once I got back on it, I just felt like I was wasting my time and I wasn't even getting entertained, so what's the point? I also deleted a bunch of social medias off my phone, so now I only have Snapchat and Pinterest as far as social medias go. I kept Snapchat because, like I said, it is the main way I communicate with friends, and I obviously want to keep communicating with friends. And then I kept Pinterest because I don't find I have the same issues with Pinterest as I did with other social medias, both with the addiction of, you know, spending hours and hours on it, but also, though it isn't a conscious content consumption like I was talking about before, it is very much the algorithm feeding you content. I find I never have like particularly negative content on Pinterest. It's always just like artsy aesthetic things or inspirational quotes or funny Reddit threads, so I still keep that because I do genuinely like it and it doesn't have any bad implications on my mental health besides it maybe being a distraction sometimes. But like I said, I'm not on Pinterest nearly as much as other social medias anyways. So since I only have Snapchat and Pinterest on my phone, that does mean I deleted all the other social media apps. Of course, I deleted TikTok, which is great. I do kind of miss TikTok a little bit. I did find it entertaining. I'm sure if I re-download it, I would also still find it entertaining, but I'm not risking that. I'm not going back. You may be curious about the fact that I've deleted Instagram, but I still post on there quite frequently, and the truth is I actually just re-download Instagram to post on it. I do use Instagram on my computer a bit. I'll just scroll through my personal Instagram account because there's only a couple new posts in my feed a day, so it's not something that takes up a lot of time, and I'm able to resist the urge to tap through stories on my laptop instead of my phone. I just don't have the same habits on Instagram with my laptop than I do with my phone, so it's not as much of a problem. But if I do post on Instagram, it's just because I've re-downloaded it for like 10 minutes to post on it, to be completely honest. Though I have loved cutting out Instagram stories and TikTok and not having that negative content consumption, it does make me feel a little bit ignorant to what's going on in the world. I do promote social advocacy. I think it's important to talk about these issues in the world, and I simply just don't really know about them, which is like a little problematic, I guess. However, I found that it has genuinely improved my mental health so much, and that's just my priority right now, rather than knowing all the murders and genocides going on. So though I do think education is important and, you know, it is good to know what's going on in the world, sometimes you gotta prioritize your mental health. All in all, I would 100% recommend that you guys try ditching your phone, especially if you've been thinking about it already, or if you have a really high screen time, or you just know that you're addicted to your phone and would be more productive without it. I know not everybody can ditch their phone because they have work or they need Google Maps or, you know, safety reasons. Phones are genuinely useful tools and they're good to have, so maybe don't ditch your whole phone and just ditch social media instead. But I do recommend that you try something like this. It genuinely made me so much more productive. As well, it just improved my mental health so much. I wasn't expecting it to be so good for my mental health because I never found that I had a particularly bad relationship with social media. One of the main reasons people talk so negatively about social media is that people compare themselves to others a lot, especially as far as like beauty standards go, which I never had an issue with, so I never thought my relationship with social media was particularly bad. However, going without it, it made me realize that I don't actually have the best relationship with social media. I feel like that last little bit of me saying that beauty standards never really affected me makes me sound really like conceited and narcissistic and that I think I'm hot as fuck. That's not the case. I just don't give a flying fuck about beauty standards and society's expectations. Just wanted to clear the air. So yeah, definitely recommend that you try this and let me know if you do try it and you want to talk about it or something. I think it would be really interesting to see how it goes for someone else, if they also like it as much as I did. If it does improve your mental health as much as it improved mine, that would be super cool to talk about. But otherwise, that's it. That's all I gotta say. It was a great experience. You should try it out. Yeah, have a great day. I thought it might be fun to film an honest reaction of me turning on my phone for the first time and seeing if I have anything to say about it. Oh my god. Oh, I've turned it on, obviously, and there's no notifications. Oh, Netflix. Nice, that's good. That's really